Lana shows up dutifully for work every day. She wears nice outfits and does her best to look good. But she knows she'll never be as pretty as Jenna, whom she resents for her easy, aloof beauty. Jenna couldn't care less about Lana. It's Sam who worries her. He disapproves of her constant hunger for attention. Sam doesn't like attention. He prefers to stay hidden, waiting to enforce silence if anyone dares speak truth, or if baby cries too loudly. Franny is only 4, but it's her job to take care of baby and keep her quiet. Baby can only cry. She feels nothing but pain, so much pain, and she doubts it will ever stop. Lana, Jenna, Sam, Franny, and baby are trapped together in the same nightmare, inhabiting not just the same bad neighborhood or school, nor even the same dysfunctional family. No, they all share the same mind. They are the alter personalities of a woman with a psychiatric condition called Dissociative Identity Disorder, more commonly known as multiple personality. Each of these personalities believes itself to be fully real. Each has its own preferences in food, music, and clothing. Each believes that it inhabits its own unique physical body with its own distinct characteristics, including hair and eye color, height, weight, strength, and abilities, even though in truth they all share the same body. And each can act independently when in control of that body. It doesn't matter to Sam that the body is female. He knows his body is male. Each personality also has its own set of memories, some of which are shared while others remain closely guarded secrets. Looking from the outside, we know these alter personalities, or alters, are not real. They're a product of mental illness, but they themselves would strongly disagree. They believe they're as real as you or me. What's all this got to do with Course in Miracles? Well, as it turns out, a great deal. D.I.D. provides a valuable model for understanding the nature of our own ego-based concept of self. Because, like these alters, we too are fragments split off from a greater mind that is our one true self, and like them, we cling to a stubborn sense of uniqueness that keeps us separate from that greater mind. In fact, the only difference between us and the alters of D.I.D. is that we actually do have a distinct physical body, although even here, the Course makes clear that the body is nothing more than an illusion. D.I.D. results from a psychological defense mechanism known as dissociation. As a psychologist, Helen Schuckman would have been very familiar with this concept, and indeed the Course addresses it several times. Dissociation is a distorted process of thinking whereby two systems of belief, which cannot coexist, are both maintained. If they are brought together, their joint acceptance becomes impossible. But if one is kept in darkness from the other, their separation seems to keep them both alive and equal in their reality. The alter personalities in D.I.D. are dissociated from each other. Their lives run along different tracks, occasionally crossing or overlapping, but rarely challenging each other's reality. Our ego-based lives are just as dissociated. We pursue our separate goals in seemingly separate bodies, which we take to be real. We do not see, and fear to look upon, the oneness behind the fractured world of perception in which these bodies operate. Why? Because doing so would invalidate the self-concept in which we've invested so heavily. The concept of self stands like a shield, a silent barricade before the truth, and hides it from your sight. We treasure our self-concept and will defend it to the death, quite literally. We don't want to give up our precious individuality, not even to be reunited with God. Dissociation splits the self into pieces. But why would we want to do this? What purpose could it possibly serve? Here again, D.I.D. offers a useful insight. Patients with this condition split their sense of self in order to block themselves from having to acknowledge painful abuse. Lana, Jenna, Franny, Sam, and Baby each holds his or her own dissociated piece of the truth. Like a jigsaw puzzle, as long as these pieces remain separate, and disassembled, no one will ever see the whole picture, and that seems to be a good thing because it's just too painful to look at. D.I.D. patients have suffered the most horrific forms of physical and sexual abuse, usually before the age of 5. A child so young has a poor understanding of the world and very limited resources to cope with trauma. She can't run away or fight back. She can't rationalize. My uncle is a creepy pedophile, or my mother is a psychotic. Instead, the child protects herself through dissociation. The humiliating and terrifying abuse isn't happening to her, but to someone else. Someone with a different name and identity, an alter personality. With this defense, the child can safely disavow all knowledge of the abuse. She can lock it away and forget about it as if it never even happened. In D.I.D., the abuse memories are fragmented and dissociated among different alters, but that doesn't lessen their power. Just the opposite. D.I.D. patients live in terror of the truth breaking through, a terror that persists long after the actual abuse has stopped. Dissociation is nothing more than a decision to forget. What has been forgotten then appears to be fearful, but only because the dissociation is an attack on truth. When what you have dissociated is accepted, it ceases to be fearful. The real price of dissociation, then, is that the abuse can never heal, because it remains fragmented and forgotten. The painful past remains alive. Most of us have never experienced such abuse, thankfully, and so the concept of dissociation seems strange and alien. But the Course is very clear that we are all using dissociation all the time to maintain a false picture of ourselves and the world that is contrary to God's will and that therefore does not exist. What is the trauma that gives rise to our split mind? The separation from God. Think about it. What trauma could ever be worse than that? The loss of our oneness, our identity, our completion in love. That is indeed the ultimate horror show. It shatters the one mind of the one Son into the individual fragments that we now identify as you and me. Any split in mind must involve a rejection of part of it, and this is the belief in separation. Exclusion and separation are synonymous, as are separation and dissociation. Just as in D.I.D., these dissociated fragments of self now fear the emergence of truth. They, or we, react as if God and truth were a dangerous threat to be actively defended against. Defenses are not unintentional, nor are they made without awareness. They are secret, magic wands you wave when truth appears to threaten what you would believe. The treatment for D.I.D. mirrors the healing of the separation through forgiveness. Alters must first be helped to see that their interests are aligned, and ultimately to learn that they are in fact one and the same. To achieve this realization, the original abuses must be remembered by them all, but only in order to let them go and finally be free of them. This process, like the atonement, takes time. Alters will only agree to merge with each other, a process known as integration or fusion, when there is no longer anything to fear. Fear maintains dissociation. Healing alleviates the fear and reinstates wholeness. Such is the path to salvation. Salvation must reverse the mad belief in separation thoughts and separate bodies, which lead separate lives and go their separate ways. Once we begin to see our dissociated brothers and sisters as one with us, through Christ's vision, we need no longer cling to our separate, body-based ego identities. We wear them lightly with the sole purpose of healing. We begin to remember ourselves as God created us. That memory ushers in the real world, the happy dream, and soon after the complete return of our true identity and fusion with God. We reunite with Him in the glorious oneness that has always been and always will be our only reality.